Hey, baby boy, how's Malaysia? I can't see you. I don't know how well you are. You doing okay? Are you okay? Are they treating you well? Are you trying to like cover up a black eye? Are you like do you need to like send like a flare up? Like is everything fine?
Joey,
You doing okay?
Joey, where the fuck have you been?
What? No, hold on. Wait a second. I'm talking about you. And you're just like
and I'm
you're
talking about you, motherfucker.
That is a strategy
I traveled
called deflection.
I traveled 24 hours to be here in Malaysia. I'm here in a different time zone, but I am not the reason that we have not done this podcast in a while. So what have you been up to?
Yeah, I don't have a good excuse. Austin,
Uh-huh.
I turned 30 years old. And
yeah, you having your 30-year-old crisis? Is that what's going on?
No, I don't want to blame that, but let's just say my hair is a little bit disheveled. I'm a little bit existential, and I'm definitely 3 decades now. When I filled out a form today, and the birth year, I had to start scrolling because mine was too far down, and I've been a busy boy. There's been some birthday stuff. There's been some work stuff. There's been some, I don't know what else has happened in the last week's stuff, but like, I'm remembering most of it. I'm pretty sure. I think I'm losing my memory. Is that a symptom of old age? I don't really know.
Yes, it is. It is a symptom of old age. Also, happy birthday. Also, I'm sad I'm going to be missing your birthday party.
Yeah, it's okay. There's going to be a lot of people there who are not you. Honestly, you're probably saving yourself because you would have had to drive like an hour, and that would have been a real pain in the ass. And you would have had to like mingle with people you didn't know, and you'd be like, "Wow, Joey's friends, pretty fucking weird." So I think, and I don't want to be too tinfoily hatty about this, but I'm having a party on Saturday. Everybody, Austin was invited. We were gonna play laser tag because I used to work at a laser tag place, and I got the venue for free. And then he's like,
"That's why you chose laser tag.
Okay.
You had multiple reasons to really relive your youth."
I tried to look for a party venue in Los Angeles to like host like 100 people. It's very expensive. It's cost prohibitively expensive. So I went with the cheap route, which means that people aren't going to come because the party is far away. Anywho, my conspiracy theory is that you took the job in Malaysia, so you had an excuse to not come to the party. What say you?
Yeah, or maybe it was literally the only job available to me. That could be a reason. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with working here. It's like if you're not in with PGL, I think this is probably the like the second best option. Basically, I had to take a pay cut to do it, but it was like pretty minor. The work environment is very nice. I like everybody that I've interacted with, and covering Southeast Asia is hype. If I was working with PGL, I'd probably be covering NA, which is not hype.
It looks like I've been seeing potentially the most positive feedback about not your broadcast specifically, but about the English coverage of the SEA region. So that's pretty cool for ePulse, right? And just like the community, because people are paying attention to it, probably because like it's going well, the time zone's good, they like the talent, the teams are exciting, the region's exciting. There's a lot of things that feel like they're going right for DOTA right now, including you being there.
Yeah, I think it's it's the second best broadcast, right? Because PGL has 3 of the broadcasts. Mm-hmm. And Eastern Europe had some sponsor problems. And I'm just speaking about English broadcasts, just so everybody's clear. Obviously, Eastern Europe probably has a very, very good Russian broadcast, and South America has a good South American broadcast, I'm sure. But when it comes to the English broadcast, it's PGL doing 3 different regions, and then Southeast Asia, and then the other 2 are remote. So, yeah, I mean, it's the second best, and it's not PGL, which, people, the community really likes hating on PGL. Even for a recent admin incident involving Tundra's Skeeter and a bottle.
You know what?
Piss.
Dude, I fucked up. I could have opened the show making a joke about Poopy. But it did only take us, what's that, 5 minutes to get here, but I can't think of anything more important or exciting to talk about.
Yeah, we can actually. This podcast can just be the piss and shit podcast. Those are two of the primary topics, I would say.
That's the title. This is everybody. Welcome to the Piss and Shit Show. Jenkins, unfortunately, is not here, but you can find him. I'm not here, dude. I could not believe it when I saw that tweet. I was like, this motherfucker really took a photo of his piss in a bottle and was like, that's going on Twitter. Kudos. That's fun. I think that's fun. I think it's mostly harmless. I
don't think it was intended as fun. I think it was intended as a complaint against the tournament organizer.
Okay, I believe that if you're going to complain about something like a TO or anybody, you should probably have the high ground in the argument. And my problem with this, which I think like most of the community agrees with, and also definitely PGL agrees with, is like, there's no pee breaks during matches. Full stop. you can't do it. Also, and I mean, I don't want to get to this level of intricacy about said urine, but it didn't look like that much pee. You couldn't have held that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him for needing to pee during the match. I mean, nerves and everybody's body functions differently. I don't blame him for that. Like you had to go, you had to go. I just don't really think it's. I mean, obviously my bar is very low when it comes to this sort of thing, giving prior experiences, but I really don't think peeing in a bottle is that big of a deal. It's pretty whatever in the grand scheme of things, It's
probably weirder for his homies, right? Like everybody who's sitting around him in the room, and they're like, yeah, everybody, just real eyes on the monitor, everybody. Come on, look straight ahead.
Yeah. Just to quickly recap, we are talking about the fact that Tundra's Skeeter they paused the match during an official match, paused it during an official match because he needed to go to the bathroom, but the rules state, and these are not PGL rules, these are Valve rules, that you need to have a webcam on at all times, and it has to be on you, and you can't leave the room because it's an integrity thing. Like the webcam thing isn't, I mean, it helps with production, obviously, but even for matches that are not using webcams as part of the production, you're required to have webcams on because it's an anti-cheating integrity thing.
Correct.
So this isn't even like a PGL thing. This is like a Valve rule for the DPC. Now, does that stop all cheating? No, of course not. But it's like easily the simplest thing you can do to help prevent cheating, which Joey may not believe is ever going to stain our fair Dota 2 esports field.
I stand by it. I stand by it. It's fine. I mean, what? Have you read the news about China? Yeah. hey. That is all good arguments have counterpoints, and maybe Knights is one. I cannot believe that. I want to see the communication between PGL and Tundra, where PGL's like, hey guys, you got to get Skeeter to apologize for that tweet. You got to get some clarity there. Because that email was sent because of the tweet that starts with, so PGL wanted me to clarify. Like, holy shit. Yeah, I guess as far as punishments go, that's not a bad one, and it's pretty funny. I wonder how much this will follow Skeeter in the eyes. I think that he's going to get pee bottle jokes for, I don't know. I'm going to conservatively say the rest of his career.
Yeah, which, I mean, it would have been it just would have been a funny piece of like content / tweet if he had just like, haha. Man, I really had to pee during the match, and the rules don't let me leave, so I peed in a bottle, and he just posted that. Like, that would have been, it would have been funny and stuff. But, of course, he was trying to complain and say that it was unfair, basically. And, I understand where he's coming from. It does feel a bit inhumane, but there is no way around it. It's the only, like, that is the rules. And and I think they're relatively like good rules. I don't think you should be allowed a bathroom break in the middle of a match.
Yeah, man, if I was Skeeter, I would be like, just tweeting the funny photo. Or maybe some suggestion of like, maybe we want to reconsider the rules. But just the fact that it felt inflammatory towards PGL is probably what put him in hot water with multiple parties. I guess Tundra might not do a lot of media training. Maybe they spent their TI winnings on something else. I don't know.
Yeah, PGL's willing to tank bad like hits from the community for Valve, right? If it's like because they have a close working relationship, so if like when the TI stuff and stuff, like they're never going to step in and be like, no, that's a Valve thing or something like that to preserve their own reputation. PGL is actually very good at being able to take hits for Valve in that regard. So they'll never do that, but they do take these sort of things seriously, I think. So it doesn't surprise me that they had a call with Tundra or something, or a very strictly worded email that was like, hey, these are in the rules, motherfucker. You better apologize.
You better apologize.
These aren't our rules. These are Valve rules, motherfucker. You want to get shit with Valve? Go back and apologize to the masses out there, to the mob standing outside. I mean, most people did agree that it was like it's fine. Some people saw it as just being inhumane. But you know, like, what else are you supposed to do? We need to have webcams on for these sort of things, not just for production, but for integrity. Even the productions that like Div 2, where you don't actually use the webcams, you're still required as players to have them on, and an admin is watching. So these are straight up Valve rules, not PGL rules, that have been passed down. So, and you know, that's something that didn't used to happen all the time, but that doesn't make it right. All these tournaments in the past and stuff, like they would just actively refuse to use webcams. I remember Omega League, which was not that far away ago. There was a big team like Secret or Nigma. We constantly made jokes about it during the broadcast because they would just refuse to have their webcams on.
Wasn't that like early COVID?
An important part of the it was part of early COVID. Yeah, that's why Omega League happened. It was a replacement almost to like TI at that point in time. It was kind of in that same time area. So yeah, there was like a team that just flat out refused to have webcams on. They just would never do it. And you know, now they actually have to have them on. But just because there was a precedent set of like you could do whatever the fuck you want and like pause for whatever fucking reason and just say that, you know, like, oh, keyboard issue, and then somebody's, you know, I gotta take a smoke break and they fucking go outside. I'm not saying that actually happened. I'm being facetious, but you know, it used to be the Wild West where you could just pause and kind of do whatever the fuck you wanted. But I think these sort of things are important because it does help crack down on cheating. It is far from bulletproof, but honestly, if you're not doing LAN events for the DPC, then this is really the only option. So,
you know what else Secret is refusing to doing, but like, you know, more modern times than say 2-3 years ago?
Winning.
Yeah. Winning their games. They're like, hey everybody, I'm sorry, I can't be bothered. I need a smoke break. I can't win my games. Maps, I'll take one maybe, but like I'm not gonna win. Okay,
you know, Joey, this is in particular bad taste when you're a part of Liquid, who are dominating right now. This is definitely punching down. You guys took Nisha and you're dominating, and Secret, you're literally 4-0 and they're 0-4. You are there. It doesn't get farther down to the ground of punching down, you know?
Yeah, I actually have to bend over so much punching down that I'm hurting my back. But again, wow, they got second place at TI. Like, whatever, who cares? Like, oh, cool, they're gonna go to Division 2. Wow, rad. We didn't get to have a conversation about a week ago when we normally do the show. Thinking about like, oh, how's DPC gonna go? You know, predictions are kind of like whack and weird and shitty and like not always great, but sometimes we do it. And I'm willing to bet that if we would have been here a week ago talking about, hey, so like, what teams do you think are gonna maybe do well in Eastern and Western Europe, or who do you think is gonna get relegated and all that stuff, I would be willing to bet that we would not have landed on Secret and Nigma going a combined 0-7 so far. I bet that would not have been the prediction.
No, definitely not. I think it would have been expected that Secret would have been worse. They had a pretty grueling TI as well. They lost probably the best player in the world, and their replacement is somebody who is, I would say, kind of untested in some ways. I don't think Boom is definitely not. I mean, I'm going to throw Sumail's name in there, even though he's 0-3 right now. But like he doesn't have that same kind of history of like, I am a top tier mid laner and will stay that way. You know, so it's him transferring to teams was definitely going to be a question mark of whether or not he would have the same kind of success on Secret as he would some other roster, right? Like some players have success, but they only have success on a specific team. Maybe they even look good and they play good on that team, but something about that team is what enables them. So Boom is not that player who has like a lengthy history of being a part of multiple teams and being successful. So it was always shaky ground, I would say, with him.
The counterpoint to that, though, is that people will tell you all the relative unknowns that Puppy has plucked out, or people who have played like just a very little bit and then has joined Secret in the last 6-7 years and then have become stars, right? So I think that it might be a little too soon to give a verdict on Boom. But also, I'm assuming that if the team continues on this trajectory, goes to Division 2, and then sees what happens there, like he's going to be the person everybody's pointing to first, right? Because he's the big change.
I mean, I don't know. I still see a lot of people pointing at Crystalis, even though he got second at TI. You know, somehow, like one player change, but there's still people out there like, Crystalis is definitely getting picked. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying it's funny that they like are still set on that path of like, Crystalis is the problem because they didn't win against Tundra, I guess. Or maybe even if he won, maybe they would have just said he got like carried all the way to winning a TI or something. I have no clue. But I think it's just funny that there's still some people stuck out there on that. But yeah, I mean, it's the first season, so there's going to be shaky performances. Southeast Asia has... we have our own shaky performances by some teams that you would expect to do well. Boom and Fnatic are both looking at potential relegation.
Neither of them have won a series, right? They're both 0-4.
Yeah. It's real rough out there for the boys. I mean, you know me, I was a pretty big Boom fan last year, so I expected this new roster to be decent at least, but they have immediately shit the bed. As has Fnatic, who is, you know, I mean, just hearing the name Fnatic in a Div 2 match doesn't sound right. Similar to Secret, right?
Similar to Secret,
Fnatic have always been a top 3 team in the region. So if they get knocked down, which seems very likely at this point, when you're 0-4, it's going to be weird. It's going to feel wrong in some ways, but that's what's happening. All the new kids are coming up the block and knocking down these big old dogs, you know, these old organizations who are slow and old and not keeping up with the times.
Is that necessarily true in Southeast Asia, though? Because my understanding is that Blacklist International, a.k.a. 2019 TNC, is doing real well.
Yeah, no, they are. I'm not actually serious. I don't think that's actually the problem. I think it's just the regions are very competitive, and I think there is maybe some degree of truth in the players that you think of and think, oh, that guy is good, that person is successful, definitely have fallen off to some of the people who have risen up during the COVID times. But yeah, I think, I mean, Boom's a pretty good example of like, is X Nova washed up? Probably not. Yopaj, FBZ, those guys already showed that they're good last year. Zephyr and Natsumi, like neither one of those guys I think you would consider washed up individually. Natsumi is not even that old. He's probably one of the younger players. In fact, he is probably, if I had to guess, he's 21. So I think 23 Savage is 20, and he's the youngest player in Division 1. So he is definitely close, probably second or third youngest player in Southeast Asia. So
is this just what happens when Tim's leaves your team?
Maybe. I mean, Tim's is really good. I know he's been scouted before by international teams. So obviously the general consensus is this guy is a tier above everybody else, perhaps in the region. So
that might be true, because if I'm just kind of tabbing through some of these players and like looking at the history of like the long standing ones, you know, Raven, Cuckoo, Tim's come to mind really quickly. Tim's feels like at this point he might be the person in this whole DPC region who's had the most success.
Yeah, I guess so. He's I think X Nova. I mean, some of the for a player who has stayed in Southeast Asia, then yes, I think that's
I think you can also argue that X Nova and KP have had a lot of success in different ways. Yeah. What
Mid One was a part of that super dominant secret. So that's another one. But
what's going on with Bleed? How are they doing? That's the Duke Jackie team.
I think they are. I did an interview right before this with our observer, who also does some content on the side, and he asked me at the end who my top 3 were, and my top 3 are Blacklist, Bleed, and Geek Slate. Execration is the other surprising team who shot up. I think Blacklist and Bleed, you're probably expecting some success, if not top 3. Geek Slate and Execration are probably middling or bottom teams from what you would expect out of them anyway, just based off of the names and their like history of success. But they have both exceeded expectations so far. But Execration seems to have bigger holes in their game, so I think Geek Slate is going to be the third best team, or maybe even they'll eclipse the other guys. But for now, third best team.
I'll be interested to see if Fnatic or Boom actually kind of spin back up, because it feels easier for me to attach to that storyline than to be like, oh, is Execration going to be like a solid middle of the pack team? Because unlike China and Western Europe, it's only top 3 from Southeast Asia that are going to go to Lima. So
yep. Which means every single team, like we're talking about this now, but literally, any of these teams could still end up on the chopping block, because basically Boom and Fnatic could end their season going 3-4, and nobody has 4 wins. So it's possible that anybody could end up tying for bottom.
They haven't played each other yet, so one of them will end up 2-4 best case if they are both winning.
Sure. Yeah. I think that Toilet Bowl is actually. I think Richie was telling me that Toilet Bowl is like the tomorrow or something like that.
Oh, it is. January 20th, tomorrow for you.
Let's see who's casting it. It is the final series of the day, so I don't think I'm casting it. I think. I'm only doing, I think, the middle series, so I'll miss out on that. GG.
The Toilet Bowl. What other regions have you been following? Have you had any free time? Have you looked at North America, South America?
Oh, I've had tons of fucking free time here. I have 4 days off a week.
That was a loaded question.
I have way too much time.
How are you feeling it? How are you feeling? Because my understanding is that the internet like isn't super great for you.
Yeah, it's not amazing. I might be able to stream today. They gave me a monitor, and I'm trying to stream off my laptop, which both with my laptop not being amazing and the internet not being amazing, it probably isn't the best. If I had like an amazing PC, the internet would probably be fine. But and vice versa. But we'll see how it goes. But I have been doing a lot of reading, and I actually am taking boxing classes. So that's something I got going.
Are you doing that by yourself, or is there someone joining you there?
Private lessons. So yeah, by myself.
That's rad. How did you find that?
Well, it was pretty simple. I was basically trying to figure out what the fuck I was going to do here for 4 days a week, because I'm not Tsunami. I don't like going out and doing things and seeing things like he does. So all this extra
I'm pretty
time
sure that he is
useless.
staying in his room and doing nothing.
No, he actually has. We've talked about it. But I know he will at least do more than what I'm doing. He said he'd probably go out more the final week or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think he maybe talked about staying here longer or something.
I'm not going to dox his vacation plans, but I think he's going to Singapore because when he went to he didn't go to Singapore for TI, so he wants to see Singapore.
Yeah. So that again, he's somebody who is willing to go out and do things and see things, and I am not. So I was trying to figure out what the fuck I was going to do, and I think one thing I wanted out of this was to get back in shape. And then I've also always been meaning to take some sort of MMA classes again, because I kind of enjoyed it in the military. I took a fair amount in the military, so I was like, I should do that again. And I Googled MMA gym near my hotel, and I found one that's a 25-minute walk.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Are they...
And it's cheap, so... like getting private lessons in Los Angeles is going to cost me
$100 at least a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
$100 a session probably. But that has to be way cheaper. That's fun. I wonder how many foreigners they have who are staying for extended periods of time who come and train with them. or I wonder if you're like a novelty to the gym is what I'm saying.
No, the first time I went there, I actually met their Brazilian jiu-jitsu teacher, and he just gotten there from like a week ago or something like that. So and then some of the other guys that I've seen training, I think it's a somewhat legitimate MMA gym. I think they've got like actual fighters who compete and stuff like that. So I've seen a number of guys who are obviously not Malaysian. So
how long are the workouts?
I just do an hour.
How gassed were you after the first hour?
I was fucking dying. Oh my god, I'm so out of shape. It's fucking awful. And I'm somebody who like pushes themselves very hard when it comes to exercise. So I was very close to puking the first time, and the second time that I've only been twice so far. But the second time it was 2 days ago, and I'm still very sore from it.
I like this new version of you. I like 2023 boxing cap.
Yeah, I figured it'd be kind of cool and fun, and it would fill up my time, and it's an experience, and more of an experience than just sitting in my hotel room reading all the time, which is what has been filling up most of my time. It's just reading nonstop.
It sounds like a good use of time.
I haven't read like that in a while.
It sounds like a good use of time. You've been reading, but I've also been reading your writing. So you've been on both ends of the literature sphere, it seems.
Yeah, I actually do like writing. I write a fair amount. I just never publish most of it because I just kind of like write it. And then I realized I don't need it to be out there in the universe, and I just put it away in some folder in my Google Drive document. But yeah.
Sorry, we're gonna talk about the thing you wrote, but do do you write like you did that blog post when you're writing privately, or like how much of that was like through the lens of this is like definitely going to be public, so I'm going to like put on a voice and add in different jokes? Because the first time that I read the draft of it, I think one of the first thoughts was just like the rhetoric was really good, and I don't think I've seen a lot of stuff that you've written before, but it was clear that that's not the first time you've put pen to paper. Like it has personality. I think one of the hardest things to do when writing is really get your voice to come across in the text, and I can hear and imagine you saying those words, which was just good.
Thank you. I think I think I've got a strong sense of what I want to say when these things sort of pop up, and they just kind of like sit in my head, and I almost have them like pre-written out in my head, like various like paragraphs and bits, which is I tried writing a book once, and it's how I imagine authors put together books is that they have pieces that they know they want that like make up the story, and then everything else is kind of like filling it, like putting it together, basically constructing all the pieces together. So yeah, I kind of already had it like, I mean, this has been I've been thinking about the subject for like, I've been thinking about posting it for probably about a year. And then I just decided, okay, I'll finally write it. So I just wrote it on my airplane ride, my 24-hour travel time to Malaysia. I just did it during that.
Yeah, we should back up a moment. I'm assuming that most people know what we're talking about, but for those in the back who are like, what the fuck? You published a blog post about your medical afflictions and poop.
Yeah. So the TLDR is I have two chronic diseases. One is a very rare liver disease called PSC. And the other one is a much more common affliction of the colon called ulcerative colitis. And yeah, I just pretty much wrote about my experiences over the last, technically, I think I found out about my liver disease back in it was actually before I moved to California. So like 2018, 2017, somewhere in there. So I've known about that for a long time. And yes, one of my more recent experiences, which was the headline was having to wear diapers for ESL1 Malaysia because my ulcerative colitis was flaring up so badly that I was having incontinence issues.
I'm shitting myself,
yourself.
Doc.
Yes.
I mean, I've been privy to for a minute about your liver issues. I'm pretty sure I've never told you this, but the first time that I found out that you were taking medication, like you showed it to me, I didn't feel super comfortable prying because you felt like the vibe I was getting is that you were a little bit guarded about it. So I spent like 20 minutes like Googling different liver stuff, and I learned so much about so many different liver diseases, none of which is your very rare one, which does not come up unless you search the absolute correct terms.
Yes, you would not find this liver disease, as it's I think the statistics say 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 100,000, which I can actually back up those statistics, Joey. Maybe the statistics are a little bit skewed because obviously the audience that reads my stuff is younger, but I think if I look at my I'm going to look at it right now, the tweet that I have, but if you look at the metrics that tweet got, 200,000 views. So 200,000 views, you put that up to like maybe like, I don't know, like 300 or 400,000 with like Reddit being probably a primary reason why people went and checked out the blog. It didn't link to my tweet or anything. So, and I had, I think 4 or 5 people reach out to me with the exact same liver disease. So if it's, somewhere in 400,000 people saw it, and 4 people reached out, then that means 1 in 100,000. Pretty good.
Yeah, there's probably some other statistics there on like how many people read it and blah 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 blah, and how many people wanted to say something. But yeah, did you expect that kind of feedback? Because I know that when we were talking about it, there was a little bit of, and I hope it's okay that I say this, like there's a little bit of hemming and hawing about if you wanted to do it, because like you wrote it and then you were like, well, maybe I don't post it, and then you did, and it seems like, you know, part of the mantra was not just for you know, putting yourself out there, being more comfortable, being more open, but also because people who share a similar issue could, you know, see some visibility to it. And so what does it feel like to actually get that response of people who are like messaging you publicly or privately, being like, oh hey, like we have the same weird fucked up problem. I shouldn't call it weird and fucked up. We have the same liver issue.
Yeah, yes, that I think was the biggest reason. Like I thought about that basically a year ago, which was that like, I should talk about my liver disease. And you know what it actually was? When a while back, when I was doing the research for my disease, and I saw 1 in 100,000, I at that time was like somewhere around like 90,000 followers or something like that. So I was closing in on 100,000. And I just happened to notice that number and the other number kind of coincided. And I was like, oh, that probably means like one person that follows me probably has my liver disease. So I was like, oh, I should probably post that. Cause when I found out it was definitely like, I mean, it's a little overwhelming. It's like, hey, you have a, like the phrase "no cure" is very scary, and then the other word being liver transplant, and being like, you know, what's the survival rate on a liver transplant? You know, like that's the first kind of things that go through your mind. So that sort of thing is kind of scary. So I figured like I would appreciate it if like I had known somebody who would have been able to be like, hey, this is what your life's going to be like, sort of thing. So
what is news like that do? Like, are you in the doctor's office alone and someone's telling you that, or do you have like some support there, or what? Like, because I imagine that day, that week is just very not pleasant. I
mean, it wasn't that bad, to be honest. I just kind of like put it to the side. Cause I mean, the one thing is that I have not had symptoms for most, like I knew there was a problem with my liver, only not because I was like, I had a symptom and had to go to the doctor to figure it out. It was because like I was going to get some sort of medication, and the medication requires you to have a liver test, and my liver enzymes were high. And then that just set us off on this fucking investigation of why that could be. And and tests because again, it's a very rare disease, so they probably start with the common shit and work their way down. But yeah, once it was actually figured out fully, yeah, that was just you know, I got it from the doctor, and then I went home and told Ellie that was a thing, and then I think maybe it took a little while, but then I eventually told my parents. And then basically over time, I've just told more and more people.
When you have a disease that is rare like that statistically, do the doctors ask you for permission of like, hey, can we like study you? Because are you like a data point now for this?
I don't think it's that rare. I think it's rare, but I don't think it's like so rare that they don't have like, they don't already have people for that. It's the kind of rare where it doesn't get a whole lot of research because it's not going to be generating a whole lot of money. Yeah, exactly. There's the customer base is very limited. So,
oof, buddy. Yeah, I remember. You shared the colonoscopy story on the podcast, but like just at a very surface level about it being funny, right? And now people, I remember because I have a friend listens to the podcast, and he read your he read the blog, and he just sent me a message on Discord. He said, oh, that's why Austin had a colonoscopy. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, there's been a number of people who like they definitely put together the dots. Because like I've talked about, I mean, I think I talked about the fact that I got a liver biopsy, which is, if somebody Googles that, that's a pretty it's a relatively invasive and serious thing to do. It's not normal. So, combined with the colonoscopy and stuff, there were definitely people who knew that I was having some sort of medical issues. But yeah, so I posted that. It got a lot of feedback, but the only really feedback that I actually cared about was those 4 or 5 people that because I actually had somebody who reached out to me who has some disabilities, and they asked me they asked me why I posted that. Why I posted my blog thing, and I told them that it was for it was for I talked about in the blog, which was for my own mental health, but it was also to help other people with that sort of thing. And they asked, well, did it work? And I was like, yeah, it did. It actually worked better than I expected. I expected maybe 1 or 2 people. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
You know what? I didn't expect all the people who it feels like bad AI wrote articles based on your blog post, because I was getting served stuff in my Google feed, on my Pixel when I open Chrome and it's giving me news slides to click on, and it's Cap's gonna quit casting because he can't stop shitting himself. Those were the titles. It was more like Cap with chronic disease considers retirement, and I'm like, well, I read the thing, and this is like a mildly to moderately disingenuous headline, but it was really funny to me that I'm waking up in bed scrolling that, and I'm like, is Austin gonna retire? No, I know about the what?
No, I would say it's entirely disingenuous, because I really went out of my way with the 2-paragraph TLDR of yeah, I did consider retirement. The only time I talked about potentially retiring was in the same sentence of saying, but I'm not going to. So yeah, I would say it's pretty disingenuous, but honestly, I'm used to it at this point. These articles are honestly, I don't want to be too insulting, but they're not written by actual reporters. They're written by people who are just picking up what is popular on Reddit or something like that and just shoving it into an article as quick as possible to get clicks, because that's kind of what a lot of online media is about. So yeah, they're not actually doing any research or anything like that. So.
And hey, in terms of doing their job, it worked because it got served to me. So, say what you will about it, but it got shoved in my face. Man.
Yeah, you know what got shoved in my face from that thing?
What?
Let me listen. I'm not gonna focus on the positive things, because honestly, they're super nice and they were very flattering, and I in some ways I did expect these sort of things to be happening. I'm going to talk about the negative things because it's more interesting.
Okay.
And funnier.
This is a comedy show.
Yeah. Nobody take this as me complaining about the community's reactions, but my God, you know how many people were pushing the fucking I keep wanting to say predator diet. Carnivore diet. You know how many people were pushing all kinds of shit on me about here's how to fix your illness, like they just knew about my disease more than I did or my doctors do. Oh my God.
Have you considered being vegan though? Come on, dude. It'll, it's probably
I really got exact opposite suggestions of cutting out all meat and only consuming meat in the same DMs at the same time. I actually had, I won't dox him, but I did have a certain pro actually DM me the same advice of hey, you should check out the carnivore diet. And I'm just motherfucker, I know you listen to the Jordan Peterson podcast. Stop this. And the thing is that the carnivore diet is simultaneously, reason why it's so big, it's a fad diet that simultaneously works in with your political beliefs and identity. Vegetarian equal liberal, me meat eater, Republican, so the people really, like believe in this sort of thing, like more hardcore than I would say normal diet fads. And they really push that sort of thing. And the thing about it is that there is a diet for ulcerative colitis out there. It's called the Mediterranean diet. It's very healthy. Like a bunch of fish. You want to be able to have fermented foods and stuff like that. That's out there. That is to suggest. Do you think a single person DM'd me, hey, have you tried the Mediterranean diet?
No.
No, because it's not sexy. But like, hey, have you tried only eating red meat for the rest of your life? We have no long-term scientific research on what that would possibly do to the human body, eating that much fucking protein nonstop and having no fiber all the time. But like, you should try it, bro.
Hey man, this might be really, really good for your butt, but disclaimer, you might have a heart attack in 5 years from only eating beef.
I am not a nutritionist or dietitian or whatever the actual science. I know there are two different ones, and one's actually you have to actually know your shit, and the other one's just a weird fake term. But so I'm not saying that those things can't be helpful. I'm just saying that I know. Okay. But I also know that I'm being told by people who know less shit than me what I should be doing. There was another one who suggested that I should check out some. There is a form of Indian. What's the not pseudoscience, but like it's not the mainstream healthcare, but it's the
holistic medicine.
Yeah, something like that. And somebody suggested something like that, and a very quick Google search. And again, I am not saying that the lifestyle and like some of the things, the diet and stuff, I'm not saying that they wouldn't be helpful. But a quick Reddit research or Google research found that like, oh yeah, there's like some of these places ingest like mercury and stuff like that. And I'm just like, what the fuck? What is this person suggesting to me? They're like, yeah, you should go to India and actually get like the legit stuff. And I'm just like, are you trying to kill me, motherfucker? Like, what the fuck? Nobody is ever suggesting like in a light way either of like, hey, I know this may sound a little bit off, but like there is, there's been some long research in like some of these other herbs and stuff like that can help with the gut, and like it'd be worth looking into. They're like, no, you should go to India and all in your life for this thing. And I'm just like, I never asked you for your assistance. Stop this.
Yeah, I generally speaking, almost always do not want medical advice from anybody who's not a doctor. and I think that like,
now that being said,
don't give it either.
I actually did get a lot of people. I got a fair number of people who actually had legit medical advice. I actually had a couple of, well, they said they're doctors, obviously. I'm not trusting anybody on the internet.
Did you ask for their certificate? Yeah.
Things, but they at least claimed that they were doctors. And like, hey, I've seen some research into this medication. Like I had some people suggest medications or certain things that are definitely worth looking into. Just because, again, it's a chronic disease and it's rare, so it means there's not a lot of research into it. So it's very possible that there are solutions out there that I or even my doctor don't know. And I'm definitely down to do research on these sort of things. But like those people who did that were always very reasonable. Like, hey, I know this may sound a little like weird or something like that. Like they understood the gravity of offering medical advice to somebody else. But then like the most gung-ho people were just like, bro, you gotta hold it right now.
Hey, so I understand that I am in a Reddit thread, but I'm actually a doctor. And there was like a nuanced conversation in the Reddit comments about like medications that like you and other people have like tried that worked and didn't work, and I'm like, it felt really wholesome to me reading it as like an observer. I'm like, oh man, this is like really cool. It felt cool, just because there are people who were sharing their real experiences. Like I think there was more of that with the UC, obviously, because there's more people who are like, dude, I also got the poopy problems.
Yeah, that was I almost immediately like just ignored anybody who just only talked to me about the ulcerative colitis, because I strongly believe that my two diseases are correlated, and I think the science backs that up. So anybody who's just like, I have this is what helped me, when it came to just the ulcerative colitis, I was like, okay, but like there's definitely no way that will absolutely apply to me. But yeah, I think most people with chronic diseases, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease are like two of them that I know the best. But I imagine people who have similar chronic diseases that go through flare-ups have similar conversations if they're a part of a community. Like I follow a couple of subreddits that are about ulcerative colitis and PSC, and it's definitely, that is a constant conversation, because like some medicine helps some people better than others. So, and people just share in like their experiences, both the goods and the bads of like certain medication. It becomes a bonding point with people. They're like, oh shit, you take that medication too? Well, we're bros. You know?
Dude, we can go to the like CVS together. Yeah, we can share pills. Did you did you have to change your diet?
I mean, I have tried to change my diet. I'm definitely trying to do more Mediterranean. Fortunately, because of Ellie, I was already I had already cut out red meat. But the thing is that there are different triggers for different people, and it's I mean, it's probably just because it's not understood exactly what is causing these issues that makes it so that some medication helps with some people and not others. And same thing goes with foods and triggers in that regard. So red meat, I don't think is a trigger for me, but I had already cut down on red meat, which is a pretty common suggestion for ulcerative colitis. I'm trying to eat more fish for sure. I'm trying to eat all of like the gut healthy stuff, like kefir and you know, like all those like yogurts and milks and stuff that are supposed to be good for, because most likely it's some sort of imbalance in the gut of like just not having the right bacteria and stuff like that. So that is supposed to help quite a bit. So I have tried to do that. Obviously, traveling isn't the best.
I was gonna say, yeah, like you're gone for weeks and months at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's that part is probably the worst. I mean, I just ate a pizza. So I'm sure pizza is probably not on the approved ulcerative colitis list, but you know, that's what I had. I've cut out, the biggest thing I've cut out is spicy food. Spicy food is definitely a trigger for me, as well as carbonated drinks are two of like the bigger triggers. So I have cut out those for the most part.
And you also, my assumption is that you can't drink alcohol.
Oh yeah, but I mean, that's been a long time. I basically have been advised by my doctors not to drink alcohol for, I don't know, like 7 years or something. But I know, like the time it started where they noticed my liver enzymes were high was the first time they're like, yeah, you need to cut out alcohol. We don't know what's going wrong with your liver, but like you should cut out alcohol. And boy, so many doctors, like, just side note, but so many doctors are like, so are you sure you don't drink anything? Like yes, motherfucker, I do not drink alcohol. Like it has never been me, but they're always like, well, it's just very unusual for someone of your age to have very high liver enzymes like this and have fatty liver unless they drink a lot. Like I am not hiding an alcohol addiction. Please stop it.
Yeah, I think that you and me have probably been around the opportunity to drink a dozen times at least, and I've seen like you take a nip of someone else's drink, and I'm like, man, he consumes so much less calories. God.
Yeah, it's true. But I still drink a lot of calories because I love juices and stuff. So
That's fair. Yeah, well, I think that the whole experience again was really wholesome, and I'm glad that you feel some happiness from it, and I think that other people really took to it, and either people who had your specific disease or other chronic illnesses. It was really cool to just have a moment of like. Our English speaking Dota community be like, oh, hey, look, here's a thing, I can talk about it, I relate, and it's stuff like that takes common interests that we all share, like Dota, and then makes it feel, more communal, more familial, because we all have lives outside of Dota, and sometimes peeping into those and sharing the good and the bad is pleasant. I mean, we do some amount of that on the podcast, or some amount of that just publicly on Reddit, and it's it was cool to see people take the positives away from it.
You know what's funny is that I had a lot of talent and players reach out to me and be like, hey, I saw your thing, that was really cool, hope you're doing well, all very nice messages. And the funny thing is, not a single one of them was from any of the people I'm working with here. Because I talked about this. Avo, Avery, and I went out to dinner the other night, and and like I was the one to like bring it up, and like we were talking about ESL One Malaysia or something like that. And I just remember I said no, Avo, because I was afraid of shitting myself, and so the topic started there. And I was like, yeah, nobody said anything, and I like everybody has said everything to me online, but nobody here has said anything to me, not even a mention. And I think it's because nobody wants to look me in the eyes and say, hey, I saw that, I read that thing you wrote about shitting yourself. Nobody wants to look somebody else in the eyes and be like, yeah, I know you shit yourself. It feels very awkward. So I'm not blaming anybody for not saying anything. I just thought it was a pretty funny point. There was like a very clear like difference in like what people were saying online and what people said in person.
Well, shit, Austin, and I want to note that pun is intentional. We did say it was going to be the Poop and Pee show, and there's probably there's probably upwards of like, I don't know, a handful of people who are like, but you didn't talk about the Chinese DPC. What about South America? EG's winning their games and there's no broadcast. I guess is what the audience does. But we got time next week. Also, if you heard Cap roboting a little bit at the end of the story, I think we got to wrap up the podcast because my internet latency, I just checked it. My ping is 5,663. So I'm going to call AT&T. You have to go boxing, maybe. and do a show tomorrow. But we'll be back hopefully with a better connection, hopefully with a little bit more Dota talk. I say hopefully, that's like totally our choice, so fuck you. But I think that's it. But I think that's a wrap on the Poop and Pee show. Good job with the poop and pee.
Yeah, I want everybody to know that, especially the C fans listening, people told me the Malaysian internet is bad, but it's actually the internet in California that is causing the end of this show, not Malaysia. So
I'm going to move to Kuala Lumpur. That's it.